Cordelle, this is an episode that had to happen.
Absolutely.
Had to happen. It took a little while to get it together, but that's the nature of people who've got good stuff going on because time is not of the essence.
Indeed.
You ain't got much of it to dish around. But appreciate you being here. We're at the Coach House.
Beautiful
You
place,
come
by the
down,
way.
it's in my spot. Yeah, I've dropped that in there. I don't get to do as many here as I'd like.
Yeah.
But I think this one's the perfect one to talk business, but also life and yeah, just tell us who you are, what you're doing, and it'll make sense quite quickly to people why I thought it was worth sharing your story on here.
Absolutely. First of all, obviously, I appreciate you having me on, Benson. Much appreciated. Like you said, it's been a long time in the making, but it's good to finally get our heads together and sit down and mix it up and talk business. But my name's Cordelle, Cordelle KB. For those of you that don't know me that are watching this, I run a company called Dementia Friendly Barbers. The business was founded probably about 7 years ago, actually, by my business partner, Tom. Tom founded the business, and for a long period of that time was kind of just managing some care homes in his local area. I came to the business about 2.5 years ago. I now own 50% of the business alongside Tom, who owns the other 50% of the business. Essentially what we do is we provide pop-up vintage style barbershops to men living in care homes. What Tom identified and what I built on really on Tom's foundations was that men are very much overlooked in care homes in terms of grooming, not necessarily care, but for the grooming element. And I think for men, it's a really important aspect of their life. For myself, I go to the barbers religiously every couple of weeks. It's a great time to de-stress, talk about my missus and my kid and how they're driving me crazy. It's just a great opportunity for men to be themselves, to feel good, look good. I think that's my saying actually, is look good, feel good. And I think for so long in care homes, it's been predominantly dominated by women, both in the care staff that look after the residents. They are predominantly women, and also the residents themselves. The majority of them are women. And so through no fault of the care homes, they've kind of tended to look after the women in terms of their grooming. So every care home has access to a hairdresser. Yeah. However, not many care homes actually have a barber available for the men. And so essentially all we do is we give care homes the option to use that and to use the barber as opposed to a hairdresser in care homes.
I can imagine as a man, obviously I'm not of that vintage yet. I hope I get to that age.
We're getting there, aren't we?
Yeah, but I can imagine it's not something that men would raise as an issue either. Mm-hmm. Like they'd probably just carry on quietly and not really say, well, what about us? Like we need to be groomed as well. Because it's, even for younger men, like we all like it, but there's still a bit of a stigma if you say out loud, I'm going to get a...
You're absolutely right.
Get a hot towel and
100%.
And a massage. When I said I had a massage at the barber's, another guy who doesn't go to the same sort of barbers thought I was a bit odd. A man's massaging my shoulders and arms. But
it's these things are very much needed. I think, especially the hot towels and the shaves and things. The men that are living in care homes now are of the age where they like to be clean shaven. They probably visited barbershops in their local communities. It's a massive part of a man's ritual for most men. I'm not speaking as a blanket approach for all men, but I think it's a really important ritual that men do, whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly. Men really relish that time spent in a barbershop. It's in a man's environment. It's where men can be men and talk men's stuff. And I love that a lot of care homes that we work with understand the importance of that. There's a lot of, care home managers that are females that understand the importance of having that male-to-male interaction, that men-to-men time. And I think it's really refreshing to see that. I thought, when I first embarked on this mission of commercializing dementia-friendly barbers and making it a commercial and viable business long-term, I thought that the biggest challenge was going to be around changing people's perceptions on that. But actually, it's been a fairly smooth journey. It's taken some time, but in terms of people's perspectives, they actually understand it quite quickly. Care home managers understand it, the need for it, the importance of it. And so I think that's been the biggest advantage, and I suppose the way that we've grown most quickly is through people just understanding the idea, getting what we're trying to achieve, and adopting it in their care homes. And that's why we've grown as quickly as we have in the last 2 or 3 years.
So you said Tom was running the business beforehand. You've come onto the scene. I guess you two knew each other beforehand. What got you excited enough that you would come away from what you were doing and then be involved in this with Tom to the point that you're now 50-50 with him in the business?
For me, I think I come from a recruitment background. I've owned a couple of recruitment companies. I've worked in the recruitment space for a long time. And anyone watching this that has worked in recruitment will understand the pressures, just the lifestyle that comes with that. It's burning the candle at both ends, working hard, working long hours, etc. And so for me, when I started to kind of look at alternative options and look at other things that I could get my teeth into from a business perspective, I remember sitting down with my fiance Abby and saying, look, I need something that has purpose now and has meaning. I think I'd, from a financial point of view, had made some good money in recruitment. But I think, I suppose everyone has this point in their lives where they're like, actually, what is it that I'm really trying? What am I seeking?
Yeah.
And I think mine came fairly early on. It was early 30s when I kind of sat there and said, what do I really want to get out of life? And I've been speaking to Tom for a while before this, and I knew that he'd kind of got this Dementia Friendly Barbers, and he had a few homes knocking around, and he was doing a good job. But I knew that he wanted to make it more commercially viable as a business. I said, you know what? I think I need to do something where I go to work every day and I feel like I'm really making a difference. I can hand on heart still say every morning I wake up and I really feel like I'm excited to go to work. I'm excited to go into the care home, see what the barbers are doing, meet the gents that we're working with, and see the real profound differences that we're making each day to the lives of the men that we're looking after. Some of these men are coming in, they're really unshaven, their hair's a mess, and we get them back to looking their best, and their families appreciate that, the care staff appreciate that, because it reflects then in their behaviours around the home. They feel better about themselves, and it's a really important part of living in care homes that we're helping to fix, really, so to speak.
What I've seen, and I haven't been there where the barbers doing their thing yet.
You will.
I've seen what you put out online. I know you've been recognised for your social media. So you, as an organisation, you're doing it very well.
Yeah.
So it tells the story really well. Would you just explain, and I'll put links alongside this podcast so people can go there, but it's an experience that these guys are getting, because I've seen it evolve in the short time I've known you. It's not that long, a few months, but I've seen new additions being added into the setup. So I think, for the listeners.
So from kind of entry, we come into the care home. We do a lot around, we are dementia friendly, but we're not exclusive to those living with dementia. So we cater for all men living in care. I should caveat that with. But essentially, we touch on the key senses. Sight, sounds and smells are really important for those living with dementia. It helps them recall key memories and things like that. Great for cognitive stimulation. So from a visual point of view, we transform the salon spaces into a more of a masculine environment. So we bring in roller banners, and these roller banners have images of movie stars from a time gone by, cars that they perhaps would have driven in their younger years. The 1966 World Cup winning team. So all the core memories from years gone by, and then from a smells point of view, so aftershaves are really important. I feel like it's the smells is probably the biggest difference we see when we deliver this service. Is so we provide smells and aftershaves such as Old Spice. So we give them their nice hot towel shaves. Where possible and where safe to do so, we give them the cutthroat razor shaves. So really extremely close shaves. Where it's not safe to do so, we still have equipment that's able to give them that really close shave. But the aftershaves is really important. I remember I watched one of our barbers deliver the service in a care home, and the gentleman was given some aftershave, given some Old Spice, and you seen him take it in, and then he turned around and he said, this is the same aftershave I wore on my first date with my wife 60 odd years ago. And for that very brief moment, that gentleman was taken back in time to a time when a really important time, a time that meant a lot to him. First date with his wife of 60 odd years is a special time, and it was beautiful to see that interaction. So that's another key sense that we touch on. And then the last one, and again, another very important one is the sounds, so music. So what we try to do is tailor playlists according to the gentlemen that sit in our chairs. So everything is kind of bespoke. So we'll ask the gents, what kind of music do you like to listen to? If it's Elvis, is it Beatles, is it Bob Marley? Whatever that music preference is, we then tailor the playlist accordingly for the gents sitting in the chair. So that ultimately, when they're sitting there, they're having their hair cut, they're having a hot towel shave, they've got the Beatles playing in the background, they've got the smells of Old Spice in the air, and it's very much then a complete kind of barbershop atmosphere. And it's for that 15, 20, 30 minutes, it's their time to feel like they've been transported back in time and that they're sitting in a barbershop when they were 20, getting their haircut ready for a night out on the town and things like that. So it's really special what we do and what we create.
You mentioned commercializing it, and I guess obviously everything you've said there creates a better experience, which in turn creates more demand. So commercializing is what you're doing, but you're really thinking about the people and the empathy for the people. Recruitment isn't always like that. from my experience, right? Not that I've worked in recruitment, but I've worked with recruitment consultants in the past. So where did that come from then? Have you always been someone that cared about others, even though you were doing recruitment?
Absolutely. I think recruitment is very much a numbers game, and you do have to, this is not to discredit recruiters because they do a difficult task. They're usually called in very last minute, but you especially, I was working in health and social care recruitment, so I was working with care homes already, so I understood the kind of care home dynamic and things like that. But I think very rarely was I actually going into the care home settings and understanding the environments I was putting my staff into. And so it very much felt like I was just sitting in an office, putting people into care, getting calls from care homes, placing them people onto shifts. They were great staff, don't get me wrong, but I felt very removed from the care homes I was actually serving and looking after, but just because of how busy I wasn't getting the time to go and see the clients that I was serving. And so what Dementia Friendly Barbers allowed me to do is really be hands-on. So I dedicate at least 5 days a month to being in the care homes with the barbers. So whether it's myself and Tom, and me and Tom have a joke that there's not a service station in this country, Benson, we haven't seen. I need to start doing some sort of vlog of some sort, just around service station reviews. But it's allowed me to really connect with people again. I'm very much a people's person, and I believe that relationships and we're humans ultimately, and humans need connection. And I believe that the best work is done when humans are connecting. And so for me, when I'm in the care home, speaking to the staff, speaking to the barbers, speaking to the residents, it allows me to start tweaking the service, seeing how we can improve it, how we can better it. But it really just gives me a boost. It gives me an insight into I suppose a part of society that not many people see. Not many people see the elderly growing old. They're kind of their own mini society, and I suppose that's due to aging and them staying at home more and things like that. But I'm very much immersed in that world, and so is every care staff that works in care homes. And I suppose you start looking at life a little bit differently, not to get too philosophical, but you start to look at life differently when you start meeting people of a certain age that have a certain outlook on life, that have lived certain things. And I'm just eternally grateful for, excuse me, I'm eternally grateful for that experience alone. But I think we're a people's business, we're dealing people. So it's important to stay connected to those people that we're serving, to continually refine and improve the service, essentially.
What type of care homes are you going into? Because I know there's more than one type of care home. I've learnt a bit in recent times. I've had a couple of guests. Janet actually at the Coach House, we did a podcast a while ago, and she does a lot of consultancy for care companies. She's got a long career, very experienced. So I learnt a lot from Janet. But is it all types of care homes, or is it? Is it like people are living there permanent?
It's a good question, because I think a lot of people do assume that there is only just one type of care home. People that don't know the care sector assume that there's just these really dark places where the elderly go to live out their final days, and it's definitely not like that. there's care homes of all sorts, and these people live very full lives in these homes. They've got great activities coordinators that put on activities every day. You've got services going into these care homes, service providers. You've got it's almost its own ecosystem, and so for us, definitely we do day centres as well. So we do kind of where families place their loved ones in these day centres to get a bit of respite. Our mission and my mission is really, from a personal point of view, is to not overlook any care home. There's care homes that have been rated outstanding that we work with, and then there's ones that require improvement. For us, it's about working with those that want to work with us. And I think, we still get care homes to this day that don't see the benefit of us, don't see the need for us, and that's okay. Everyone has their own opinions, but my belief is that we won't overlook anyone that wants to give their gents a service and get them to see a barber. And so for us, we work with all walks of life, and yes, seeing some of the most luxurious care homes that we work in, and I'm talking really, really high-end care homes, but also those that are local authority run, that don't have as much money, but still care equally as much about their residents. So it's the full spectrum in that regard.
You've got a growing demand. I've seen just from following your LinkedIn and seeing new places popping up, which is going to just keep going and going. Yeah. I'm sure the more the awareness grows. I've had that experience with a different sector before, with health clubs and personal training businesses. Yeah. The biggest barrier I ever experienced, and subsequently I've spoke to other business owners who've said the same, is when you're onto a good thing, it's finding the right team members to grow at the pace that the demand comes. Yeah. It's a real tough balance. I know that you've worked hard to make sure that your barbers are not just great barbers, but great people. Any tips for people that are trying to scale?
It's a really good question, and I'd like to think of myself as a good recruiter, but no good recruiter gets it right all of the time. And so there's been a lot of learning that's gone into our recruitment process. It's something that we've had to refine time and time again. Tom's done a great job in finding some wonderful barbers, and myself as well. But I think now it's about we first thought that we needed great barbers, and actually we found we want great people first. Yeah. So let's look at the quality of that person first. So are they caring? Are they empathetic? Are they patient? Are they understanding? When you start to look at the quality of a person, because barbering can be taught to anyone. Anyone can learn how to put scissors over comb and do a short back and side, for example. So if they're not the greatest barber, that's okay. We can teach that. Tom's an extraordinarily good barber, and so from that point of view, we're not worried. But initially, we thought we need great barbers because we need to deliver a great haircut. When actually we thought no, because we started getting feedback from care homes that it was actually the service probably wasn't as good and the experience wasn't good because this barber was spending so long on the haircut that they were forgetting to have a good conversation with this person sitting in their chair. And for us, it was like, actually, we want it the other way around. We want it so that they're having great conversation. And if the haircut isn't 100%, that's fine, because we can work on that. And that comes with training. So it's been a massive learning curve. And so, and I think any company that's growing, I think you never always get it right. And there's always times when you hire wrong and they cost the business. We know how much wrong hires can cost the business. But for us now, we focus on the people and making sure the culture's right in the business. Because, like you said, it's a growing organisation. There's more and more care homes coming on. And for me, it's about managing that quality as we scale to ensure that quality is not lost as we grow. Because I think this could be an organisation that operates across all 18,000 care homes that are in this country. We're only scratching the surface. We're only in a couple of hundred. We're in 200 care homes. And so for us, we're like, how do we get to that next level? And I think it's just through the people that we employ and hire, and that's both centrally as an organisation, but also our barbers, because there's only so long I can do this for, Ben, so before I start.
Yeah. You're running out of service station.
Yeah. So it's about getting the head office staff right, making sure that they can grow the business in the way that we want it to. But also bringing their own ideas, because it's also important to innovate. And I don't know it all myself, you know, and there's probably somebody out there that could show me something about this business. And I suppose this is what the benefit of these podcasts is. There might be a listener that actually might have a better idea on how to hire, or do you know what I mean? And so for us, it's a constant learning curve, especially in a startup, as you know.
Yeah.
Startups, it's always a learning curve, and you're always kind of fumbling through them first couple of years, and that's what we've done. But we've come out the other side, and we're stronger. We've got a great reputation amongst care groups and care homes, and we're now getting people, barbers, asking us, can I work for you? And which is great, because it was the other way around, 12 months ago. So it's great to be in that position.
How you described your recruitment, going back to what you said about the people first thing, I experienced that in health clubs. So I've been around that sector for a couple of decades before I went off on my own, doing my own thing in leadership. There was a phase in the industry where we would recruit the highest qualified personal trainers.
Yes.
Make a big song and dance about it, thinking that that's going to make the difference in the market. It didn't. No. Because the top personal trainers wanted to prove how technical they could be in every session. Yes. And most of the members just wanted to turn up and be rewarded for turning up with a smile. Yes. And then you saw in your retention figures that we just weren't keeping people because there was a real small percentage of people that wanted
That's
to be
really
in
interesting.
training.
Yeah.
And then the industry now has gone completely the other way. And you've got a lot of trainers that are self-employed who no one really knows what level they are unless they're telling people. But I think in any service industry, it'll be the people.
People first, isn't it?
It's for most people.
100%.
Sometimes people want to know all the details.
Yeah.
Have you back.
And that's okay. But you're absolutely right. I think it is. It's definitely a people's first, and it shows through the hiring in health clubs is that it's exactly the same. Yeah. You can get the best barbers, but if they don't know how to have a conversation with someone living with dementia, for example, or they're not being patient, or their service is never going to go down well. It doesn't matter how great their haircut is. That gentleman needs a level of interaction that technical barber might not be able to give them. So for us, it's around coaching. And like I said, I don't think there's ever a bad hire. You know, going back to what I said, there's hires that just aren't right for our organisation. But I think we will always try and coach as best we can before we say, actually, this isn't going to work. But because a lot of these barbers are coming from the outside world, so to speak, or they've got to get their head around a whole different way of working. And the fact that they're reaching out to us just shows a level of wanting to do this work. And it's really rewarding work as well. It's different to doing skin fades in a barber shop on the high street day in, day out. This is really rewarding. But it does take a level of learning, a level of training. And even to this day, I'm going on some training next week at a care home in Essex, just to upskill a couple of our barbers. So one of our care homes has said, look, we're running some training. Do you want to put some of your barbers on it? And I just said, yeah. And can I come as well? Because I think it's always about learning, and always, never resting on your laurels, never thinking that you know it all. And that's the only way we evolve, really, and we grow our businesses is by constantly learning, constantly reading and upskilling. Yeah.
The one thing I've seen, and this will probably be something that's true with your barbers without knowing any of them.
Yeah.
I call everyone that does stuff in my organisation coaches.
Love that, yeah.
It's just a word that sits better than mentors or whatever, especially when we work with young people.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear the word mentor. Yeah. But the ones that I've now had around the organisation for 4 or 5 years, the common theme for all of them is humility.
Yes.
They're the top of their game.
Yeah.
But they're humble enough to know that they might go into areas where they're learning.
100%.
And if you're working, whether that's with young people in secure training centres that we talked about earlier that we're working with, or whether it's with older people with dementia, or I've done some work with young adults with autism, worked with a cerebral palsy charity before, and I didn't know what cerebral palsy was before I walked through the door. I had to be humble enough to say, I'm up for this, but I don't understand this and I don't understand that, and then help me be good. And the fact that you're going on the training and you're one of the bosses, your barbers are going, it'd be easy to just say you ain't got time. So respect for doing that, and the barbers must have that humility 100%. To come in. People.
That is such a good point. I love that word. I love humility, because I think as a leader as well, I think for myself is that you've got to show a willingness. Your staff have got to be looking to me as not somebody who sits on a golden throne. Not that I can afford a golden throne yet.
A green throne.
We'll call it a green throne for today. But I don't want my staff particularly, to see me sitting there and feeling like I know it all and just sending out to work and counting pennies. And that's, for me, I want them to see a leader that's willing to learn, that is open to saying, hey, I don't know it all. To being comfortable in that kind of space where, like you said, humility and not knowing that you don't know it all. Because I want my barbers to feel like they can say that as well. Because what I don't want is for them to be in certain situations, certain scenarios where they feel out of their depth, but because of the culture that I've created, they feel like they can't say that they feel that they're out of their depth. I think it's really important in terms of setting company culture that you show that openness, say, hey, look, we're all humans, we all make mistakes. There's been many times where I've double booked care homes and sent a barber to a care home on the wrong day, and it's about holding hands up, being accountable. I think accountability is another really important part of being a leader, is being accountable, and saying, yeah, we got it wrong. And I think that promotes a really healthy culture especially within a startup. Because when you're accountable, I think, and you can hold everyone to account then and say, look, that didn't go right. Where did we get this wrong? How can we fix it? It's not about pointing fingers and saying you've messed up. It's about saying, right, we're a team effort. Yeah. How do we account for this, and how do we fix it, and how do we take this forward? And I think for us, one of the stats that I love is that I think we're at about 93% of our care homes that have ever booked us have always stuck with us, and so it's been repeat bookings month after month, and so that shows a drop-off rate of about 7%. And obviously, in an ideal world, I'd want it to be at 100%, but I think that is testament to the fact that even when things go wrong in the care homes will phone us and I'll say, look, let's learn from this. How can we fix it? And do you know what I mean? Rather than just kind of pointing fingers, pointing blame at the care homes, it's about creating that environment where we're accountable, and that hopefully attests to our drop-off rate being so low in terms of clients and things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm interested with two different sets of people and how they receive your service. The frontline staff in the care homes, because I'm assuming you deal with the senior people within the organisation. Yeah. So then your barbers are turning up. Yeah. And are they just sort of waved on to do their thing, or are people engaging with them and really interested? And then also the families of
it's a big one.
The men that you're servicing. So start with the staff.
Yeah. So starting with the staff. So I think for us, we're very fortunate in pretty much every care home that we work with. We've almost embedded ourselves in the kind of as part of the workforce now. So when the barbers go in, they're recognised, they have their own space to work in, which is usually the salon space, etc. But there's always pushback, because what happens is in care homes, as it is currently, the hairdresser will have been there for 10, 15 years, cutting these gents. And let's bear in mind, these care homes are businesses, the hairdresser's a business. She's losing revenue and money through us taking the men off her, and so there's a difficulty at first, initially, when we go into care homes, because you need to be like, right, well, actually, we're taking 15 of your clients off you for us to now look after them, and so as you can imagine, that creates a bit of tension. It's straight right off the jump. So we're never going into care homes really on the best foot, and the hairdressers, naturally have some influence among care staff, and so there can be a bit of pushback from care staff and things like that. But once they understand, once they see the service and they see the smiles on the men's faces, and they see that we're good at what we do, and that we really bloody care, I think most care staff come on board. And like I said, we get invited to Christmas parties. Our barbers get lunches at the care homes and things like that. So that's testament, I think, to the work that we do. But there is that initial challenge of right, we're going into a new environment. That hairdresser's lost some clients now, and so she's not going to be very happy. So then she's looking for ways that she can complain about us potentially and things. So we've got to be hyper aware about the environment that we're going into. So I'm always telling my barbers, look, make sure we're always on top of our game, because when you're trying to break into a section, change people's perceptions, they're going to look for ways to say, he's not doing that right, or do you know what I mean? And so for us, it's that's a real challenge. But I really take my hat off to all the care staff in the care homes. They're wonderful people. They do a hard job, but they do it with a smile on their faces. There's some great care homes that we work with that are truly wonderful. And the care staff are second to none. They're really wonderful. So hats off to them. And then families. So
before families, two things. One, when you said about that, I thought of Kevin Hart quote on a.
Oh, I love a bit of Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart said, if you don't want to get shot down, take the bullets out of the gun. Basically, give a reason to be shot down. That was one thing I just thought of. But also wondering whether any staff trying to tap up the barbers for a
100%.
all
All the time. All the time.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign. Then.
It's
that's
all the time.
One way to win them over.
All the time is we get we'll if we finished early, if one of our barbers has finished early for the day, and I think we've got an agreement with a couple of care homes that if you've finished before whatever time, I don't want to say a time on camera now because all the care homes will be holding us to it. But yeah, we've some of our barbers have definitely done some of the stuff, but for us it's a little bit frustrating because you're like, well, we're there for the residents, and but at the end of the day, we're there just to look after the people that sit in our chairs. So if there's a member of care staff on the floor that needs a new fade, a fresh fade, then we're happy to do one or two. But just as a disclaimer to anyone watching this, it's definitely not a blanket approach, and it's a one-off.
There's ops directors walking around sites looking for sharp stuff.
Yeah, with patterns in the side of their hair.
But sorry to cut you off.
But no, that's okay.
But so with the families, I'm excited to hear about this. So the families' response to their loved ones getting this experience.
You can, if you go on my social media, and for anyone watching, if you go on my social media, if you go on TikTok, actually, Dementia Friendly Barbers, you can see some of the reactions of some of the families. So we've got a wife of a care home that we've done in Stafford, and that woman, she for so long had been trying to get her husband to have a haircut from the hairdresser in the care home, and it was not successful. It was just an awful interaction every time, and so they just decided against it. And you can see that you'll see me actually interviewing the woman, the wife of the husband, and she cries, and she cries happy tears, and she just says, "Gosh, after so long, you've styled him and you've cut his hair in the way, and you've done his beard because he used to have a goatee, but he'd had a grown-out beard when we started working with him, and so we gave him back his goatee and things like that." And she says, "That's just exactly how I remember my husband." This is a gentleman that's really advanced dementia. He's non-verbal at this point, which is always really challenging in itself, because you can't, you can interest, but he can't tell you himself how he wants his hair and things. So we relied on his wife's input for that. But he was happy with it. You could tell. You can always tell. You can just read body language and things like that. The way they are. You always know when you've done a good job. And I think it was just telling from the wife's reaction that she was crying. She said, just thank you so much. Please let me know when you're next here and things like that. But families across the board, we get messages from all over the country saying, "Oh, this barber cut my dad's hair today, and I just want to say thank you. He's done an amazing job." I think the biggest impact we see is really with the residents and their families. That is just where all the impact is, because the residents' families are able to see their dad or their granddad or their brother freshly shaven, nice comb over, short back and sides, smelling nice. Men just carry themselves differently when they've had a nice haircut, a nice shave. It's just something in same way women are when they've had a nice cut and blow dry. Do you know what I mean? And so very similar to men. So it's profound, the impact that we have on families. And again, I think that's why word of mouth works so well. So now we get a lot of messages from people living in the community, just to say, "Hey, can you come out and visit my dad at home?" Just to come because it's just word of mouth now, and so it's quickly. It's almost like wildfire. It's spreading really quickly. So yeah, so really fortunate in that sense.
I imagine because your geography is covering a big part of the country, like you're going north to south, are you now?
Yes, north to south. Yeah, so we cover the length and breadth of the country, from as far north as Newcastle and Sunderland. So we're in Sunderland next week, actually. All the way down to the south coast. So you're talking Southampton, and we've got a care home in Cornwall.
Right.
So we are the length and breadth of the country now, yeah.
So with that, my question around diversity will be geography dependent, but I wondered whether you have a demand to be able to cut hair from all different cultures.
That's a good question.
As a mixed race guy, like when I had a bit more hair now, I would sometimes go to barbers, and I'm going back some time, probably about 15, 20 years, but I have been into barber shops where they've said, "We don't cut your hair."
It's a really
I've not
good
had that in
question.
recent times because I've got no
Is that
hair.
through choice, Benson, or is it
It
through...
is because, to be honest, I have got a little bit going on if I grow it. But the real reason was I started doing a lot of content
Yeah.
and I was going to the barbers twice a week for a skin fade because I was worried it wasn't neat. It was costing me. So in the end, I just bicked it and just shaved it myself.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout.
So now I can recycle videos from 3 years ago. And as long as I don't put too much weight on, people still think it's pretty recent.
I completely agree. I think for us, it's a really valid question. Actually, you know, it's one that's never been asked of us. But I think we've got such an eclectic mix of barbers. You know, so we've got Leon, who's a mixed race barber. But all of our barbers are trained in cutting all hair. And so we had a gentleman in a care home in Wolverhampton actually, and it was a gentleman with dreadlocks. Wow. And one of my barbers, he's one of our youngest barbers, he phoned me and he just said, Lord, I've got a gentleman here with dreadlocks. What should I do? Because I've never cut anyone with dreadlocks. I said, whatever you do, don't cut the dreadlocks off. They were down to the bottom of his back. He'd grown them for years. But again, that's that case of never always knowing. You don't always know it, or no matter how many haircuts you've cut, that barber had never come across cutting a guy with dreads. And so he just gave him a nice shape up, nice trim around the sides, and a nice shave and stuff like that. But it was that thing of, again, he felt confident enough just to phone me and say, how shall I approach this? And so it's really important. But you find, which is really interesting actually, in terms of demographics, that I'd probably want to say like 95% of the gentlemen living in care homes that I come across anyway is a white men. I think I started doing some research, not research, but starting to ask some people around this. And I think it's because the black communities and the Asian communities in this country tend to care for their loved ones at home, their elderly. And so, for the most part, our barbers are just cutting the hairs of older white men. But so we don't come across too many different. But when we do, all our barbers are trained in different hair types, and so it's not a problem in that sense.
Yeah, it made sense that sort of demographic thing that you've described. I don't know it for a fact. But
I don't know the number. No,
community projects that I've done, some of them have been funded around diversity. And there's a couple of areas. One is care. Often it's family do find a way to care and have multiple occupancy homes. But then also with the mental health work that we've done, we did a project in Buckinghamshire, which I know is just one county. But we literally had no ethnic minorities involved in the program at all, even though there was a huge community. But nobody was coming forward for a free offering of support, one-to-one support and small group support. So it is something that we've got to try and sort of work out.
100%, and I think it's interesting as well, because, you know, you look at the demographics of the typical makeup of a team working in a care home. They're from all over the world, and it's such a beautiful mix of cultures and things like that, which is lovely. And I suppose I imagine it's wonderful for the residents as well, and, you know, asking questions, because I know me as a people person, I'd ask 100 questions about every culture and every any person that's caring for me. I know I'd be saying, so where are you from? You know, what's your country like? What's it? Do you know what I mean? And so I think,
what's the food like?
What's the food? Oh, absolutely. What's the food like? And so I think it's a really important. It's interesting. Obviously, the demographic of the care staff are very mixed, but the people that they're caring for are actually predominantly white. And I imagine that will probably change in generations to come, as obviously the makeup of the country changes. And so, you know, there's going to be people like me and you, mixed race, that are going to be in care at some point. And so that, I imagine, will shift in the next 10, 15, 20 years. But in short, our barbers are wonderful at kind of approaching different situations and different ethnicities, and treating everyone as humans. We're all humans, Benson. You know, and I feel I'm very much a humanist, and I'm a big believer in just being good to humanity and connecting with all sorts of people from all different walks of life.
Yeah, anyone and everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got quite a big network of people that tap into the podcast and my radio show now, the business show, and they're interested in the business side and the leadership side. Touched a bit on the leadership.
Yes.
And when you mentioned that barber called you when the gentleman with the
Yeah.
dreadlocks needed a
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
I think that's a testament to you that these guys who will be proud barbers,
Yeah, yeah.
the fact
Yeah.
they can pick up the phone
Yeah,
to you
yeah.
and ask those questions, I think means you must be leading them well.
Yeah.
But the business model, without going into too much of your personal
Yeah.
or private information for your company,
Yeah, yeah.
but people are probably wondering how the model works because are people paying for their individual cuts, or is it sometimes
question.
the care homes are paying for it, or families? I'm sure people would be interested in that.
Really good question. So how it works typically is, so we will invoice a care home. So say, for example, we'll say, right, we can book for half a day or a full day. So it's the only two rates we offer at the minute is a half day booking or a full day booking. We invoice the care home for said rate. And then essentially, if anyone's good at maths here, we'll be able to figure out our day rate. But essentially for 15 men, so say, for example, care home's got 15 men, essentially it works out at about 17 or 18 quid per person. And care homes are always massively surprised when I talk them through the service and what we do, and then they say, wait, it's £17 per person. So it's for us is then, so then what the care homes then have to decide is, right, how much of this do we absorb centrally as a budget, like for for people that don't understand how the care home economics is, that there's different budgets, different pots of money for different things in care homes. There's a pot for haircuts and hairdressing, things like that, especially if you're all inclusive. But the residents also have their own money, and so if the care home isn't all inclusive, then the residents have to pay for additional service themselves out of their own pocket. Now, it creates a bit of a challenge because there might be residents that can't afford the service that month and things like that, but we just will do them anyway. We'll always look after them and not charge more. Do you know what I mean? But essentially, you will invoice, and then the care home has to decide, right, do we take half of this, absorb half the cost centrally, and then we just charge our residents £7 a haircut or £8 a haircut? Or do we just charge them back fully for the service, that 16, 17, £18 the service is? Or do they absorb the cost essentially entirely? So I know care groups that just absorb the cost completely themselves, and the residents are not charged any additional fees, which I think is always lovely to see, just because they recognise it as a wellbeing activity and a wellbeing programme. But it's all very much dominated by the economics of the care home, and if their occupancy is low in the care home, then they're tighter on budgets, and so you really start to feel that from a business perspective. If care home occupancy isn't going well in a certain geographical location, you notice that care home might not book 1 month. They might give the booking a miss. And that might just be because they don't have the money or the gents in the care homes to feasibly justify the cost of the service. So there's a lot of knock-on effects that you don't really account for when you first, you just think, well, just barbers, we just go in and cut hair. But actually, other things at play, and the economics and the economy in general has a big say on how many care homes we deliver that month. But we are fortunate in the sense that we do have the majority of our care homes booked in for the entire year, and they honour those bookings. For us, from a business perspective, we've protected ourselves as best we can through that. So a lot of the care homes have already carved out budgets for our service because, like I said, we're part of the team now. So for them, that's just a cost that they've already factored into their budgeting for the financial year. So that's typically how it works.
Yeah, makes sense. My model for the work that we do, which some of it's in this place where we are today.
Yeah, which is it's a wonderful place, by the way. For
it is cool.
It's pretty.
Cool.
You guys need to check it out. You really do.
And then we do a lot, but the majority of our stuff is out and about. And I've chosen to, after trial and error, I've chosen to just use people that have got their own stuff going on, and then when I do need them, give them enough notice, offer them a good rate, and pay them for that day.
Yeah.
So they're either self-employed or they've got full-time work elsewhere, and then I just match them up to projects or events that we've got on, and try and incentivise them with a good offering. To come here. How do you do it with your barbers? Are they self-employed?
They are. So they're self. So the barbers self-employed, and the reason why they are self-employed is because all our barbers like to work outside of work, and so. And it gives them that flexibility, and so there's some of our barbers will pick up 15 days a month, but that fluctuates. Some will do 20 days, some will do 2 days a month. We've got barbers that literally do like 1 day a month, but everyone is valued, whether you do 1 day with us or 20. You're treated as a member of the team. In that sense, we're all in a big group WhatsApp chat. We do regular training, things like that. But they just get a day rate, so they get a day rate for working. They get looked after by the care home, like lunches and stuff, free lunches. So we do our best to kind of look after them from that perspective, because ultimately people aren't going to work for you if you're not paying them well. And I think this is what care homes, and this is in recruitment, this was the challenge for care groups, is how do you retain staff? How do you staff retention is really important in a company, and it always came down to pay. Pay was, I suppose, second actually to culture. I think people will leave an organisation if the culture isn't right, even if they're being paid good.
Yeah.
So if you hate your job but you're being paid good, you're going to leave still. Is my belief anyway.
Eventually.
Eventually, absolutely. And so I think, but I think pay is definitely number 2 on that list, if not first. And so paying your staff well is a really important part of showing them that they're respect, is showing them that they're value, that we value them. The best way to show someone you value them is by paying them right, paying them well, and also investing in them. I think aside from putting money in their pockets, investing in their personal development and things like that. So putting them on additional training, looping them into opportunities that I come across my table, my desk. If there's things that I can loop into, get one of my barbers to do, for example. There's a lot of barbers that work for us that have never been to a corporate black tie event or anything like that, because they're barbers and they haven't mixed in those environments, and I get a lot of offers. So I've started kind of divvying up black tie events to start letting our barbers experience the corporate world as well, because I'm just a firm believer in letting people see different parts of the business world. I suppose, working in a barbershop is very different to a corporate running a barber company, but I want them to have different experiences, that they might not necessarily have working as a barber in a barbershop, because I am a big believer in that, and I believe that experiences really are the making of good leaders and good people, good employees and good employers. He's giving them experiences that they'll remember and be like, gosh, that really changed my outlook, or it just helps shape, I believe, how someone looks at business. So getting them to go along to different events, different training, different workshops. So I've just started kind of divvying up my invitations now. So if you do invite me to your birthday party, mate, I might send one of my barbers in.
A random barber turn up. That's fine. They're very welcome. They're from Dementia Friendly.
Oh, bless.
They're very welcome. But what you're saying there, I mean, I don't know whether we talked about this before when we first chatted, but something I'm really passionate about is that high-performing people, if you're going to reward them differently to people who aren't high-performing, because really I like to think of myself as high-performing when I was working for organisations. Yeah. And the things that have stuck with me more than anything else is when I was 22, I got sent to San Francisco for 5 days to a conference because I was high-performing as a fitness manager. Wow. A few years later, when I was more of a regional director type role, I got sent to Vegas.
Wow.
For a few days.
Don't let my barbers hear this.
but I'm talking over a 2-decade career in health.
That's incredible.
Fitness, but those things stuck with me because there's a guy called Jim Collins who, I think his book's called Good to Great, but when that came, when I was in San Francisco, he was the keynote speaker on the last day. Wow. My obsession with public speaking and becoming a host and a speaker that I'm still trying to develop to this day is off of being in the room.
That's incredible.
And that's what one of my bosses sent me there, a guy called Martin Oliver, who was managing director of Cannon's Health Clubs at the time. Yeah. Never spoke to him. Don't even think I'm connected to him on LinkedIn because I was just a fitness manager in a massive organisation. But I got that award and that inspired me to this day to be passionate about communication and speaking. So I think giving people who are high performing people experiences 100%. And opportunities to better themselves 100%. Is much more valuable than giving them a hamper.
100%. And that is absolutely nail on the head. I couldn't have put it better myself. I think there's a barber in our organisation, Chris. He won't mind me saying his name because he's fantastic. All of our barbers are fantastic. Special mention to Chris because Chris came into the organisation only maybe 4 or 5 months ago, really applied himself, really believed in it, brought into the whole ethos about Dementia Friendly Barbers. straight away, I remember me and Tom sitting on the phone and speaking, and we just said, we need to give this guy more opportunities to grow. He's got way more experience than not necessarily experience, but he's far more aware, and he has a great business head on him. He's just not had the opportunity to really utilize those skills probably in the best environment. He's been stuck in a barbershop for 20 years, and so where can you apply those business skills and that business acumen if you've just worked in a barbershop for 20 years, not just worked in a barbershop. It's just been his primary income for 20 years. And we just straight away, we said, look, we want to make you a trainer within the organisation, because he's great at delivering the service. The feedback from every care home is always 10 out of 10. So we said, look, we want to start training some of our newer barbers. So then we started offloading more and more responsibility. And you just seen Chris grow in stature, grow in confidence, grow in his ability. And he's really just stepped into a role. We've carved out a role for him in the organisation now, as kind of overseeing the Midlands, which that role wasn't there before he came into the business. But I've just seen, and I think that's another thing about leaders, is you need to be able to spot talent and spot just small sparks of something in someone. And then drawing it out of them in the best way that you can. And I really believe that I've, myself and Tom actually, have really done the very best we can with Chris in terms of drawing out of him. But it was all to Chris. He's a wonderful gent, and he's just really applied himself, and he's a wonderful barber, but more importantly, a wonderful human being. And I think they're the kind of people that, when I'm step back from this business, they're the people that I want leading this company. And it's really important to spot them early, nurture them, water them, treat them like I'm a keen gardener, treat them like a plant, and look after them, give them enough sunshine, enough water, and watch them grow and blossom. And I really am seeing, in the last couple of months, just seeing Chris grow. But it's about putting, like you said, just being in those just an environment, and being put in a certain situation allowed you to, it's something just clicks, and then it grows, doesn't it? And it's and that's what I think I've seen with Chris, and it's the same with all of our barbers, but Chris more so.
Yeah, is that analogy with a picture? If you're too close to the picture, you don't see the bigger picture, right? And if he's been the best barber around for 20 years in his barbershop, where's he got the time or the space to see what's possible elsewhere?
Exactly that.
Unless someone else sees it in him.
Yeah.
And now that he's started to step outside of that barbershop with you, and he's had you and Tom see that in him, I'm sure he's going to take that opportunity and run.
That's it.
And that's what people need. We all need that at times.
100%.
You're high performing in your world.
Yeah.
And then you don't slow down to look outside or step away from the picture so you can see the bigger picture. And you rely on others to see it.
And that's what it is that, these gents are high performers. Chris is a high performer. He's a wonderful, wonderful barber with a great skill set. And I was just like, well, surely we can use his skills for more than just going into the care homes and looking after the gents. Maybe he can train our workforce. Maybe he can start doing a bit of business development. So, over the next couple of months, I'm going to be showing him how to business develop, and develop business and grow business, so that he can start managing his own patch and bringing new business on, for which then he'll get commission. So it's implementing these things now, and again, it just allows other barbers that are coming into the fold to see, actually, because in a barbershop, there's the ecosystem is, you're a barber or you're a barbershop owner.
Yeah.
There's only two layers whereas what I want with our organisation is for there to be many layers, and people to always feel like they can step up and go into the, oh gosh, I'm a barber now, but actually I want to be a regional manager and overseeing a few barbers, and then actually I want to be a trainer, trainer within the, do you know what I mean? And so I always want people to be able to see the next step, because I feel like people become just a little bit, it's when you can't see the next step, you become a little bit, I'm struggling to find the word, but you don't really want to stick with an organisation where you can't see progression. If you're just stuck and it's stale and it's stagnant, that's when kind of you start looking, oh gosh, I feel like I'm better than this. And so I just want to constantly show our barbers that, look, there's this opportunity, there's that, and do you know what I mean, and do that. And I think that's what good leaders are supposed to do, is be able to give their staff opportunities to grow, and be better than them. I want all my barbers to be better than me. That's the end goal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's the end goal. What's the next steps for Dementia Friendly Barbers then? So you've mentioned some opportunities within the team.
Absolutely,
which equates to growth.
But
when you and Tom sit and think strategically about where things are going, is there anything you can share?
Yeah, I'm an open book, man. So I think for us now is we've got a good foothold in the sector. We're reputable. We've got a good name. We've built a great brand over the last couple of years. And so for us, it's getting to 500 homes. I want that in the next 12 months. That will more than double our size. It'll double our workforce and things like that. We've also been working on a really special announcement that I'm actually I'll say for this. I've been saving for this podcast actually. I've mentioned to you briefly on the phone about us building a wonderful platform called Momovo, which is bringing kind of anyone that's trying to work in care homes, that wants to deliver wonderful work in care homes, local suppliers, care home singers, entertainers, therapists, anybody that wants to work in care homes but struggles to get foothold in care homes or don't know who to speak to. We've built a platform called Momovo, MEMOVO, and basically what that allows you to do is just sign up, build a profile. It allows the 3,500 care homes that are preloaded onto our platform to ultimately search for services in their area, within their budget, which is hopefully going to be the suppliers that we're getting signed up to every day. Just to give everyone a foot up really into the sector, because it is a difficult sector to get into. I spent a long time banging my head against a lot of doors and getting no answers back. And so we built a platform that hopefully streamlines that process, enables care homes to go to a trusted place to find people like ourselves, like Dementia Friendly Barbers, like yourself even, and wonderful things that you do, Benson. So that's kind of on the horizon, and on that platform there's going to be a new shaving course that we've developed as well, because care homes are struggling with shaving their residents. So we're about to launch our own brand new bespoke shaving courses for care homes and for families at home that are struggling to shave their dads, just living at home, living with dementia. So yes, that's kind of our next step now, is moving into the tech world. So if you've got any tips, mate.
I use tech. I don't design or promote tech, but you did share with me about Momovo. And I was excited for you, and I've literally put some time aside to create part of our model that fits what you told me about the sector, so that we can be on there, showcase the relevant stuff, because a lot of what we do might not be relevant.
I definitely think there's definitely some.
And some of our partners, Sheila, shout out Sheila Docker, but I know she's got an amazing service.
Shout out Sheila.
She knows your name already.
Amazing.
Because her service is perfect for Momovo.
Yeah.
We'll be collaborating on some stuff there. It's all around storytelling and getting people's stories out and making memories for people. She's brilliant. So I love what you're doing with that, and I'm excited to be one of the first to put ourselves on it.
Absolutely.
I think the industry needs it, and I've had the opportunity to. We did an AGM for a care home group, so I met a lot of the general managers and directors for that group.
Amazing.
And that was just over a year ago, and that was good fun. And that was the first time that I've spent time with leadership teams in a professional setting, talking about their struggles and what goes well and what doesn't. And then that led me to looking into more before I met with you and learned from you as well. And what was really interesting with that sector, and then also with some of the other areas we work, like the youth justice training centre. Yeah. There's so many team members that never spend time with each other because they're on a shift pattern, and they like ships in the night, literally. And trying to create a culture, you can have all the mission on the wall and all the values for the company, but to create that, and you did recruitment for the sector, which I didn't realise that was the sector you recruited. So many, not just agency staff, but just people passing each other. And it's like, how do you create that culture? And I've put a lot of energy into trying to work out ways to do that, because I think it's an interesting, and I think mini podcasts, getting team members to record short stories about themselves and managing the team to listen.
That'd be so awesome.
Something that I think
you've got to do that.
We should do more of.
You've got to do that.
Because we've done it in other sectors, and it works. But I think if you've got someone on a night shift and you give them a 15-minute coffee break on condition that they listen to a 7 or 8 minute podcast about someone they've never met.
They're all going to do it.
They can find something in common.
Absolutely, 100%.
And suddenly you're building a culture.
It's such a wonderful, and this is the power of connection and the power of understanding someone else's journey. I think you're absolutely right. So what you bring into the sector, you'll be
We're always learning about each other. We've chatted a lot, but I just found out on this podcast that you like gardening.
There you go. Exactly.
As soon as you said it, I'm looking at my plants that have been watered.
Did you see me feeling the leaves? I was touching I was holding on the leaves and just feeling.
So now I know you've been judging.
They're all in good nick. They need a bit of water, maybe.
For those who can't see, I've got leaves that have dropped on the floor.
Listen, it looks wonderful.
Cordelle goes.
But isn't it crazy that, like you said, is that we've sat here for a couple of hours before the podcast, obviously just catching up and talking business, but the things just come out, and that's the power of communication, the power of talking, and that. More so in an organisation is incredibly important. Is communication and understanding the people that you're working next to. So I think bringing something like that to the sector would be fantastic and much needed, I imagine.
I think so.
Yeah.
So you've got Momovo, you've got growth for the company, exciting times for the barbers.
Yeah.
If anybody who's listening to this is interested in, there's multiple ways that people will see a connection.
Absolutely.
To you personally, and also what you're doing through Dementia Friendly Barbers and Momovo. How should they find you, contact you?
Mostly LinkedIn, if I'm honest with you. I'm very vocal on LinkedIn. Cordelle, KB, Cordelle, KB, Cabey. I'm sure my name will be on the podcast anyway. But, reach out to Benson if you're struggling to find me. But LinkedIn is always the best way to get me. And I really do mean this. Anyone that messages me on LinkedIn that just wants to jump on a call for 15 minutes to explore potential collaborations of any sort, I always say yes. I never close door on opportunity, and I believe that, like I said throughout this podcast, I think it's really important to connect with people and talk and explore how we can collaborate and create a better world for everyone, really. So my door's always open, and my calendar, although it's quite stacked, is always open for the 15-minute chat with anybody that's listening and that's interested in connecting in regards to business or personally.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that, because I think I reached out to you on LinkedIn, seeing your stuff. Someone had told me about you, and I dropped you a DM, and you got back to me straight away. Said,
ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, he's true to his word.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for
I love a good chat, Benson.
I think the first.
Have we got another hour? Can we go another hour?
I phoned you, didn't I, that Saturday?
Yeah.
And we never spoke before. And what was it?
It was like absolute.
I said to him, "We'll be going." That's not a surprise.
I said to my missus, I said, "I'm only going to be on call for 15 minutes." Yeah, an hour and a half later, it was. I think my battery died, or your battery died.
Yeah, my phone overheated. My phone overheated because I was.
I think that sums up our relationship to this point, is that it's a lot of good energy, and I think there's going to be a lot more good energy coming out of future collaborations with ourselves, and the work that we're doing. I think it's the synergies there, so
for sure.
Looking forward to collaborating even further, mate.
Coach House as well is coming.
Absolutely, we don't know yet. It's in the making, but definitely watch out, because it's exciting. Happen. But keep an eye out for the Coach House, because it's a wonderful environment, wonderful space. And I just feel like I feel like we can bring a lot of good energy into the Coach House from external partners that we're both working with. Yeah,
for sure. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, and I just want to make sure that I give people direction to it. I said about, and you mentioned a video as well on your socials. Yeah. So is it Dementia Friendly Barbers is the TikTok?
That's it. And Instagram. Yeah. So it's just Dementia Friendly Barbers. And then, you can watch some of the powerful stories of the men that are sat in our chair. You've captured stories like a guy that's interviewed Muhammad Ali and things like that. So so just check us out on social media, have a look, follow us, share the pages. Every follow is appreciated. We're just getting started, so hopefully next couple of years we'll be doing TikTok full time, doing dances and stuff in care homes.
Look out for that. Cordelle, wicked.
Benson,
thank you so much for your time, and I know that many people in my network are going to really benefit from this, and
I hope
the ripple effect is that they'll then share it with people that we don't even know.
Absolutely.
And that's how this should all work.
Absolutely,
so, appreciate
it. Thanks for your time. It's much appreciated. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care.